So welcome, guys. Nice to have you today. And today we'll be talking about embracing continuous delivery with Azure pipelines. So I'm CJ Okpala. I'm the founder of Azure Nigerian User Group. So Azure Nigerian User Group is one of the Microsoft Azure communities where we every month share knowledge about Azure Cloud in general and how you can learn things in Azure Cloud, or say you're new to technology or you're new to the cloud. We often invite speakers who present in different subject matters, ranging from security, Azure security, Kubernetes, containers, also infrastructure as code with ARM templates, and past solutions. So different areas we do often cover. So today, without further ado, I'll be talking about continuous delivery with the Azure pipelines. So often on, we do hear acronyms like CI/CD, or basically, what does that actually mean? So today, we're going to talk about continuous delivery. So what is basically continuous delivery? Is a way of continuously delivering value to your customers by bringing new features, new integrations, and delivering value in a continuous way, in a progressive, repetitive way, which adds value to your product, to your end customers, or to internal customers using the software solution. So, say in this case, using Azure pipelines. So, in this tutorial, so today we're gonna just talk about the lab itself, the tutorials of it, and how you can do it yourself. So I've picked up a lab section from Azure DevOps Lab website, which gives us a kind of a guide on how you could do this lab yourself. So I'm just gonna talk through it, the pro processes, and then you can now spin it up and try it out yourself. That way, it saves a lot of time for us in doing the lab, so we don't have to do the lab live. So you just uh, uh, do it on your own time at your own pace. And then if you have any question, you can now ask me, one of my members, if you encounter any hiccups, or if you have any questions you want to you need answers to. So for this lab, first we will cover like six tasks. So the first, we have to look at setting up the Azure resources. It's a prerequisite. Secondly, second task is to creating a continuous release to the QA stage. So the QA stage is kind of where you're gonna like pre a stage where you're gonna prep your deployment, which you're gonna later move. Say you want to move it to the production environment or something like that. The next task, we're gonna looking at the how to configure Azure App Services, and then further invoking a continuous delivery release to a to QA. And the next task is to looking at creating a gated release to the production stage. Finally, working with deployment slots. Yeah, so let's get started. So from this, you could see that first prerequisites to have an Azure account, and also in order to complete the task exercise one, and for the first setting up the Azure resources. So first we need a database, say SQL database. So we will create a SQL database. As you can see here, we provide a name for it, and then we further on put it in a resource group. So as you know, a resource group is a classification or like administrative way of how you can orderly arrange your environment, or your work environment within Azure. So a resource group, within a resource group, you have the resources in itself. So it's kind of a cumulative way to have a clean workbook, or a clean way of managing your environment. So we give a name to this SQL database. So we use Parts Unlimited for the name, and then we press OK. Then further on, we have to give create a new server. So we need a server. So we give a server name there, and then we click new. Then we create new database. So you can see the database will be accessed, the server will be accessed, the server will be accessed with an admin login and a password, which is already created here. Then further on, we have to choose the kind of compute plus storage we need. So we choose Gen 5 with 2 cores, 32 gigabyte storage, zone redundant disabled storage. And then further, we create the service tier. So it's with the basic service tier. And then we click apply. Then further, the next process now go through the review plus create process. And then after that, we click on create. Then from the Azure portal homepage search for app services and select app services. So we select an app service, and then we create an app service. Further on, we could give a project details, and we select the subscriptions and the resource group we need. And then further down, we have to now give an instance name. We give an instance name pool-john doe-qa, and we run on this URL. And then for publish, we publishing code, and the runtime stack will be at ASP.NET version 4.8. And then on the app service plan, we have to, so you've been working with app service, you need to choose a plan. We have to create a new and name it plan. And then we change the size to S1 under production. So you can see this, S1. And then we click on apply. Then further we click review and create. And then click create. Then further on, so we have to now further repeat the process above to create a second app service. So 2 app services, and this one for the production stage. So this time around, we need to append the name with production instead. So you can also use the same app service plan created before for QA. So QA, we have 2 apps of QA and the production. So you see where we did that. And then we need to also select the firewalls and visual network tab for the security section. And we need to set allow Azure services and resources to access this server. As you can see, click yes on that. Now that takes us to task 2, which is creating a continuous release to the QA stage. So we now quickly go to the Azure DevOps environment. So we navigate to the Azure DevOps in a new browser, and by clicking on this link. And then within the Azure pipelines, we click on release. Then we see a three dotted icons. So we click delete. We delete the existing Paths Unlimited E2E release pipeline, which we already have there. So we can start fresh here. So we delete that, and you can see there's no release pipeline found. Now we have to create a new release pipeline by clicking on new pipeline. So there are kind of many starting templates to choose, or you can even begin with an empty process templates. So we're gonna select the app service deployment, and then we now click on apply. Then further on, we need to rename the stage name QA to pool CI/CD, and we need to add also an artifact. So click on add in the artifact to specify which artifact to deploy. There are many types of the artifact. You can use, say, the build artifacts, or use the Git artifact or the GitHub. And then we have, in this case, we select the build artifact. And then we have to give a name to our socks. and then we click on add. Further on, we have to now now that the artifact has been defined, it's time to configure the deployment to QA. So click one job, one task in the QA stage. So as you can see, where we did that. Further down there, we have to now select the Azure subscription we're gonna use. So within Azure DevOps environments, a lot of people have different subscriptions. They're gonna work, say, in a workplace environment, you come across that there are different subscriptions a company has or a team has with Microsoft. So if they need to define, so within Azure DevOps, it's gonna ask you which subscription you want to use for this deployment. So you not to go, if you say you have more than one subscription, you're gonna choose from a drop down which subscription you want, and then you have to authorize to use that subscription. Then follow the workflow to authorize access to your Azure account, and then enter the app service name used earlier when creating the QA app service. So pool-jondo-QA, and then we have to return to the pipeline tab. So from there, we click on the click on the click the triggers to so the trigger button to define what triggers we'll invoke in this deployment. So under there, you will see we need to enable the continuous deployment trigger and the build branch filter that points at the build pipeline default branch. So as you can see here, and then we click on save. Then this takes us to task number 3, configuring the Azure App Service. So when we return to the browser tab, open the Azure portal, then we have to now click the resource groups tab from the top left menu, locate and click the Patch Unlimited group created earlier. So that's what we did here. And then click on your SQL database we already created, and then making sure that the database you created are not the server. So this is, as you can see, this is the database we created, and then click show database connection strings, and then this will provide you with, say, a list of connection strings based on the platform you use. So copy the added .NET string to your clipboard so you can configure your new website to use it. And when it's done, we have to now close the blade. Then further on, you have to now open the new instance of Notepad and paste the connected strings. So you normally place back when you copy this, so you have to place it on, say, a new instance of your Notepad to use it later. And then you can use the breadcrumb navigation to return to the paths or limited resource groups, as you can see here. Then select the configuration tab from the settings section, configuration. On this blade, you can configure settings for your app, such as connection strings. Click new connection strings. And as you can see, we did it here. And then further down, locate the connection strings section and add a new entry with the default connection strings. So we did it here as well. And then you click on save. So the next task is invoking a continuous delivery release to QA. So first we have to go on repos, files, and open in a new tab. So we have to fetch this repository, and then we need to do an edit. So on line 37, we need to change, locate the part of and then test, and then the test v 2.0 after it, and then add the test. So we add the test v 2.0 to it. This will be an easy thing to check for the after deployment, and then you click on commit. So then we need to now navigate to the pipelines hub. So now next we have to open the most recent build for the Parts Unlimited E2E. which might be queued or in progress already completed. So you can see it's been queued up. So we have to follow the built-in build until completion. So this is the build. So they click the release tab to see the new release get going. And then you can see the release and click the release as with the build. It may be queued in progress or already completed when you get there, when you get here. As you can see, it's been in progress, as you can see. And then you can now close this tab if you prefer. So it's succeeded, completed. Now, this is what we get to our output. So the browser, you can navigate the QA site with it will be the name of your app service, so Azure Web Service.net. So and it will show you the version 2.0 as you can see here, which will be specified in the code in the repository. So task number 5, creating a gated release to the production stage. We return to the Azure DevOps browser, click on pipelines, and the pipeline, and we click on edit, top right, to modify the release definition. As we see it here. And a release might get more sophisticated. It becomes important to define gates to ensure quality throughout the release pipeline. And then further down, the new stage is added after the current one, which is what we want. However, before we can consider the QA deployment successful, we need to define a post-deployment condition. Click the post-deployment conditions button on the QA stage. So we did that, and then we enable the gates option. And then further on, we need to now add query work items, and then further select the query for shared queries. Critical bugs. We will make it our policy that the QA deployment cannot be considered a success until all critical bugs have been resolved. So it's kind of a code review. So all the critical bugs must be resolved before we will have a kind of a successful QA deployment. So this kind of a pre-deployment gate, if you can call it that. And then further on, we expand the evaluation options. It's time between re-evaluation of gates to 5. So in this case, if this gate fails, so we want it to re-evaluate the query every 5 minutes until it clears, because engineers will need some time to configure those critical bugs as fixed in the current version. So for the query gate to work, project build service will require read permission to queries. So go to Azure Boards, queries, or shared queries, then security. So search for your project name, build service, if not included by the default, not project collection builds, and give it read allow permissions, as you can see here. Next, we can now turn our focus to the production stage. Select the copy of a QA stage. We've done here, and then rename it to prod. Okay. Click its pre-deployment condition button, and then enable pre-deployment approvals, and out yourself as a approver. So the idea here is that you won't be asked to approve the production once after the QA deployment has succeeded. And then click production stage, one job, one task. As you can see, and we then have to update the app service name. It's done. Save. And then eventually there will be an issue with the QA deployment. It looks like query work item get is fallen. This means that there is a critical bug that must be cleared. See, this is a log. Open a new to the bug query to look at the bug. So we have to look at the bug. And let's look at critical bug. So we can see decline in orders notice. Please investigate immediately. So this is the bug. And then we have to resolve it. So we're gonna approve it. And then the file deployment for later approve. And then click in prog within the link to list workload. So it might take up to from a moment for the release to kick off the complete. So once the release has completed, open a new tab to the production apps. It should be the same as QR, but our production instead of QR noted the 3.3 version 3.0. And lastly, working with deployment slots. Return to the browser window, open the Azure portal. Azure also offers deployment slots which are parallel targets to application deployment. The most common scenario for using a deployment slot is to have a staging stage for your application to run against production services. So select deployment slot tab. If you see a message indicating that your current present here does not support slot, follow the workflow to upgrade the service to production. So you can see here what we did here. Next, enter the name of staging state, and then state configuration state matched your existing deployments. Okay. So return to Azure DevOps tab with the production stage pipeline data. Then check deploy to slot, and then click on save. So at the end, this is our output. So it's output. So when the production deployment has completed, refresh that browser. Note that there shouldn't be any change since deployment was pushed to a different slot. And further, we need to open a new tab to staging slots. And then next is to return to the browser window, open the Azure portal, click swap in the deployment slots blade. The fourth option we are here exactly what we want to swap the production and staging slots. Click swap. And then finally return to the production browser window. Note the staging slot and refresh. It will now be version 4.0 version 4.0 as you can see here. So this is basically how to embrace continuous integration using Azure pipelines. So in the upcoming section, we're gonna do this lab actually live demo in the lab. But just for today, just to talk about the tutorial, what's involved. So if feel free if you want to try it yourself. And in one of our monthly events, we will now do this lab. We will now do this lab together live, and then we can learn together with each other and see, and then we can see what we can learn, and then we can help each other going forward. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, if you have any question, you can always put your question across and I'll pick it up. Thanks for participating, and I wish you a nice evening. Bye-bye.